winds out of the northwest at 6 miles per hour. Relative humidity 70%. 66 in Newark, 64 degrees in Bridgeport, 67 in Midtown, and heading for 80.
1035 KCU, the beat.
Aiming towards the building. Transmit a third along.
Can you tell us your name and where you're from?
My name is Joan, and I'm from Evansburg. I was in Altoona at my mother's at an art class. I was learning how to paint, and I remember that the phone rang, and it was my daughter, and she asked if we had the TV on, and I said no, we did not. And then she told me that a plane had hit the World Trade Center. And then I think another one maybe hit just as we were on the phone. I can't remember for sure. But then we found out also that there was another plane that was somewhere in the air, and they weren't sure where it was. But that was the one, I guess, that then hit the Pentagon. And then sometime later, the other one it crashed at Flight 93 in Shanksville. I was really, really upset. I really felt insecure right away, and I worried that something terrible, more even than that, would happen, that maybe there would be more things like that happen, and I felt unsafe, just felt unsafe. I think that it was a really big milestone in our history of our country. I think that it was one of the worst tragedies that's ever happened to us, and I really am sad that so many people had to die. I'm glad that we are remembering them.
All right, so what's your name?
Marcia Smith.
Uh,
I had worked that night 11 to 7, and I think the first that I knew of it was whenever I was just leaving work. It seems like there was something on the TV, somebody had a TV on, but I was just leaving work.
okay.
That one. I thought it probably wasn't that big a deal. I thought that because those things just don't happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, it certainly looked awful. It's certainly a very sad thing that happened. There was certainly a lot of damage and loss of life. I don't think we still really understand it all the implications, all the ramifications of it.
All right, so what's your name?
Thomas Rummel. Okay, I had my own construction company, and I was out working outside, building a deck. It was a beautiful day. There wasn't any clouds at all in the sky. Crystal clear, beautiful September day. I come in the house, and my wife said that the plane had flew into the World Trade Center. So as we were standing there in total amazement watching the news video, while we were watching, another plane flew into the World Trade Center. And I remembered, I looked at my wife and I said, you know, 40-some years ago when I was in basic training, getting ready to ship out to Vietnam, my drill sergeants told me, they said, the reason you guys have to go fight this war, the reason you have to go overseas and fight these wars, the reason we have to train you to send you over there, if you don't stop these wars and our enemy overseas, they're going to bring the war to this country. And when I saw that plane go through, That's the conversation I remembered my drill sergeant telling me. I looked at my wife and I said, that's them bringing the war to this country right now. By it, just knowing that all the being in the military, all the power and might that we have, that could still happen. It was numbing just watching it. Yeah, there was a friend of mine, he was up there, he was a motivational speaker, and he was right there when the planes flew into it. He was telling me everything firsthand what he saw. It was a horrific sight. I think we've learned a powerful lesson. I think people in America realize that just because they don't see that enemy don't mean it's not out there. The enemy is real. They're out there. I've watched this country take our military for granted for years, and I don't think they take it for granted as much as they once did. I think they really, it was a wake-up call for this nation.
All right, so what's your name?
Diane Sense.
All right.
I was in Johnstown. I work at the Johnstown Senior Activity Center. I was at my job, came downstairs to the lobby, and saw the first plane hit. Stayed to watch what was happening and saw the rest. And I couldn't believe it. Even now, when I think of it, I just makes you cry. Disbelief, shock, worry. All the emotions I think that you can go through. Scared too. With staff at the center, we made sandwiches for the volunteers that were at Flight 93. We did that for a couple of days. That was our little way of showing what we could do. Really, nobody knew what they could do, but that was a small part that we thought we could help. I think it's something I'll never forget, and I just feel like we're waiting for it to happen again, because I think they're planning. You know that they'll plan for years. What we think is 1 or 2 years, to them could be 10 or 20.
All right, so what's your name?
Matt Foreman.
All right, and where are you from?
I'm from Munster Township, Pennsylvania. It's a little town, but it's not far from where the Flight 93 is.
All right.
Well, back to 2001, I was only in 2nd grade, and started out just a normal school day. We went to school, we started our classes, and then all of a sudden, just everyone started panicking, and the teachers were rushing around the halls trying to find out what was going on, and they all started crying. I was, being a little kid, I was wondering what was going on, and then I found out later, it was after the Flight 93 crash that we got sent home from school. And then when I got home, I was watching all this unfold on TV, and being young, you wouldn't think that a child would really think much of it. It's horrible. I mean, I don't know really how to describe it. It's almost, still, now that I'm older and educated, I still feel a sense of like disbelief. Like, how did that happen? I don't know how to describe it.
My name's Philip Rice.
All right, and where are you from?
I'm from Evansburg, Pennsylvania. On 9/11, I was stationed at Fort Stewart, Georgia. And I was a major, and I was on the division's plan staff for the 3rd Infantry Division of the United States Army.
All right.
I'll tell you exactly how it happened. We were getting ready for a major exercise for the division, and one of my fellow guys on the plan staff came in and told me an airplane had just run into one of the buildings, one of the towers of the World Trade Center. And the first thought that I had is, what are those air traffic controllers doing? And then a few moments later, a second guy came in and said that the second plane had hit, and we knew that something was wrong. And for us on the division plan staff, that was a big deal. And we worked in basically what it is a large safe in the center of the division's headquarters, where we go in because we dealt with a lot of classified material, and they put us into this safe and lock us in there. And at that moment, we turned on the TV to see what was going on and get an assessment. The chief of plans was a little bit upset, and he goes, "What do we do? What do we do?" And I said, "Well, what we do is we grab the contingency plan off the wall and we start following it step by step, because someone who had a lot of time on their hands thought through this and knows exactly what we're supposed to be doing." So we pulled our contingency plan down and we started checking off everything we're supposed to do. We locked down the entire base. We made sure that there was no unnecessary traffic. We alerted all the units to get up. We started sending folks out to the sensitive areas immediately around our area that we were responsible for securing. We made sure that if there were any more aircrafts coming, that they wouldn't pose a threat to our division headquarters. So we basically took what actions were needed to secure our immediate area and secure the areas in Georgia that needed security within the first few minutes of it happening. What did I feel about it? I was shocked. You know, we always knew that there was an Islamic threat, but because what they had done previously, a radical Islamic threat, what they had done previously didn't ever come to anything. You had, you know, the first attempts on the World Trade Center and other things that happened, and they got caught. Immediately before this, I was in Bosnia, and they had some Islamic fundamentalists over there who were trying to cause trouble, but we were always able to keep them in check. We were pretty shocked about what happened, and that was the primary feeling: shock and a sense of we need to make sure that what's safe now needs to stay safe.
All right.
Well, I think we all have. I mean, we all live in the aftermath of 9/11. The most immediate effect, of course, was Afghanistan, and many of my friends went to Afghanistan immediately following 9/11. I didn't, but the Iraqi War also happened after that, and I was there for the invasion in 2003. Also, we obviously had to send folks up to D.C. right away to help with what was going on with the Pentagon. But that was primarily my role in the immediate aftermath.
All right.
My name is David Gegermeyer. I'm from Evansburg, Pennsylvania. The day 9/11 happened, I was off from work, and I was watching my son Joe, who was 3 months old. My wife called from work, and she asked me if I was watching television and to turn on the news. And I turned over the news, and sure enough, the trade centers were on fire. And it was unbelievable. It was hard to watch. Shortly after the phone call that she had called, she came home and she cried and left right away to go get our daughter Sarah from school.
Yeah. All right. Can you please tell us your name?
My name is Jim Knoll.
All right. And where are you from?
I am in Crescent right now, Pennsylvania. I was a senior at Fisher-McCord High School, and I remember a girl came into our cafeteria saying that people were crashing planes into buildings, and I thought, there's no way. That's crazy. And I just kept on going about my day, and eventually saw that the entire school was frozen, and looked and saw everything, and sat with everybody and watched in complete shock and awe at what was happening, and had everybody rush home, and had the highways closed because of the plane that went down in Shanksville. I wish that it would have brought our country closer together. I feel like it might have done the opposite. A lot of things that have come about from it, the excessive civil rights abuses, aren't really, I think, benefiting everybody. I don't think it's stopping anything, but we'll see. Only time will tell.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thanks.
All right. Can you please tell us your name and where you're from?
Hi, Joe. My name is Douglas R. Lingenfelder. I live in Richland, here in Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
All right.
Joe, I was in the Pentagon on September 11, 2001. At the time, I was a full colonel and was actually working on the Joint Staff J5. J5 actually is the political military section of our nation's joint staff. And I had a small group of officers working for me. Our job was dealing with Eastern Europe.
What were your thoughts and feelings?
Actually, there were a lot of thoughts going through our heads, but we were in a secure area that required that we not have cell phones or anything else because of the security within the area. One thing we did have was a TV. And one of my folks said, "Hey boss, come over here, take a look at this." And I'm like, "Oh, what do you want me to look at?" And he said, "No, take a look at this." And I walked over to the TV and it showed the airplane hitting the building in New York City. And the first thing I thought about, because I'm a pilot and I've got over 3,500 hours of flight time, the first thing I thought about was, those are clear blue skies. Airplanes don't hit buildings with clear blue skies. And sure enough, as everything started unfolding, they finally came around and said everybody needs to evacuate the Pentagon. And as we were walking out of the Pentagon, we saw the black smoke coming up and across the Pentagon. And one of my men turned to me and said, "The world will never be the same." Just like that. Absolutely. Obviously, a lot of what we did after September 11th, we can't talk about because it was classified. But one thing that I remember was Secretary Rumsfeld said, because the building burned 3 days after the attack, Secretary Rumsfeld told us, "Don't come back to work unless you're essential." And there's about 23 to 26,000 people in the Pentagon on any one day. Guess how many people showed up the next day?
How many?
Every one of us. Every one of us. We were going to provide some sort of force. We wanted to provide something to fight those guys. And you'd be amazed at how many European countries, Eastern European countries, were calling us on the Joint Staff saying, "We want to help out. We want to provide bomb dogs. We want to provide security forces." NATO provided one of their AWACS, the Airborne Warning and Control aircraft for the United States. It was amazing the outpouring from around the whole world that came to the Pentagon, and actually these guys are saying, "We want to help." Just about the same way as I felt then. Now, since then, I was actually a combatant commander in the Philippines, hunting Abu Sayyaf terrorists. I've had a chance to see these type of people firsthand, experience what they think, how they act, and what they believe in. The thing that struck me the most, immediately after 9/11, and as a combatant commander in the Philippines, hunting these guys, was that they don't think the way we do. They don't care about life the way we do. That theirs is a very different thought process. And I hope that America never forgets that there are enemies of America out there that are interested in the destruction of America. That Americans stay strong and united. It is who we are. We are so important in terms of providing the hope of the world. When people talk about freedom, United States is the definition in that. And so I hope that our nation never forgets what we mean to the world.
I'm Terry Langenfelder.
And where are you? Oh, yeah.
And I'm from Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
All right. Where were you and what were you doing on 9/11?
On 9/11, I was stationed at Maxwell Air Force Base, but on that particular day, I was on a temporary duty assignment in Tennessee with the Air Force.
Okay.
It's difficult to describe how I felt. There was a bit of numbness, disbelief, a sense of urgency. We immediately cut our temporary duty assignment short and drove home. In the few days following 9/11, some of my students who were from Arab countries were so sorry for what happened. They apologized profusely as if they felt that they had some responsibility for it. That's not the truth.
Did you or anyone you know play a role in the events and aftermath of 9/11?
Who tried to save lives, tried to save themselves in the attack on 9/11. I think that immediately following the attack and within a few years after 9/11, there was a sense of patriotism in the United States of America that hasn't been felt in a long time. But I honestly feel that to some degree we are forgetting that we are the United States of America. And I think that we've become a bit more divided since that time, and I wish we could get back to that level of patriotism.
My name is Laura. I'm from Evansburg, Pennsylvania. On the morning of 9/11, I opened my business and had the radio on and heard a plane hit the World Trade Center. I immediately called my husband at home, who was watching our son, and told him to turn the TV on and tell me what exactly he saw. And he told me that he saw a plane hit the building and that it was billowing smoke and on fire. And it scared me. Immediately I knew something was really wrong, and I don't know how, but I did. So I immediately closed down my business and went to my daughter's elementary school to pull her out of school. And by the time I had gotten home, I had just gotten into the house and watched the TV, and a plane hit the second tower. What I remember feeling is loss of security, and felt panic and fear. And as a mom, you're supposed to protect your children, and I knew I couldn't do that under these circumstances. There was no protection I could offer to keep my family safe from something like this. A little while later, just 40 minutes from my hometown, Flight 93 crashed into Shanksville. I couldn't imagine what else was coming. You couldn't think what's left, what more they had to do. And I had left a big city to move back home to a small town, to be away from violence, and this was just surrounding my home. Since then, it's surprised me a few days later how anything could possibly go back to normal. There's commercials on, and couldn't think who would want to buy anything in a time like this, but then also life had to go on. You have to go on and keep moving forward. I thought to myself, we've seen the very best of people in acts of heroism that would go in and save someone regardless of their own life. And then we saw the darkest of people who were willing to believe a leader who only showed evil.